Okay, so I've been learning through a fantastic set of experiences what makes horses and dogs so special. And I discovered it through a technique that I'll share with you. And essentially, when I did this technique, I walked into a stable with horses and they came right to me and started nuzzling me and would not leave. And it's a scientific technique, but it's also a spiritual technique. So that's the discussion we're going to have. In prayer, I also learned a lot more about why dogs and horses are so special and why they love the way that they do. Very beautiful knowledge. I'm very grateful to learn it, and that's what I'm going to unpack here about as quickly as I can. Okay? So the technique is I call it the heart of gratitude technique. The scientists call it the gamma wave state. It's really just meditating in a heart of compassion. Well, I don't do transcendental meditation, so I pray in a heart of gratitude. They're measuring the different emotional states in the laboratory, and compassion and gratitude are right at about the same frequency of what your body generates. So the Bible says in all things give thanks. And so in obedience to that, I pray in gratitude, and it is very special. And so the technique, when they measure these Tibetan monks with a bunch of different equipment in laboratories, they see that they're sitting and they're meditating in a heart of compassion, and their bodies are generating a big electromagnetic field around them. So what's happening, they've discovered that the heart actually has also, in addition to the brain, cognitive cells on it, about 40,000 cells on the heart itself, and they're cognitive cells, more like intuition, true, false, good, bad, kind of an intuition. So when you allow yourself to feel the emotion of the compassion or gratitude, your heart sends a signal to the brain up the spinal cord, an electromagnetic pulse, and the brain responds. So when you stay in that heart of gratitude, your heart continues to pulse that, and the brain continues to respond, and there begin a resonance between them. They go into a coherence where they begin to function as one, and this electromagnetic field begins to grow within your body and then outside of your body out to 5 meters. So that's why they can set these Tibetan monks in the snow and they'll melt the snow. They're perfectly relaxed, but they're focusing, and their bodies are generating this powerful field. They said in this state, your brain also goes from 4 cycles per second. In other words, from the brainwave from the back of the brain to the front and the back is 1 cycle. So in a normal conscious state, you're in about 4 cycles per second. Well, when you're in this state, it goes up to 40 cycles per second. And they're saying some is even as high now, they're estimating as 400 cycles per second. So your brain goes into warp drive when you're focusing in this heart of gratitude or compassion. Why? I believe it's because the Bible says in all things give thanks. That's the Father's frequency. That's Yahweh's frequency. He loves the compassion, the gratitude. That's his heart. And that's how we match our heart to his. And that's how we, I believe, get into coherence with our loving Creator. And that's why the spiritual veil seems to open up and you feel much more intimate in prayer time with him. That secret place with Abba Father, with Yahweh, with Yeshua, praying in that state. So anyway, we were in Colorado at Circle K Ranch. Very beautiful day. We were going to ride the horses. Went into the stable to mingle with them first, and I just wasn't inclined to go put my hands on the horses. I thought, you know what? I'm so thankful for all this. Let me just go to where there's no people and no horses in the arena. And I just kind of put my hands up by my side, closed my eyes, lifted my head, and just began giving thanks, just compassion, and let myself get into this state. And I could feel just beautiful energy. I could feel it, kind of my hands feel like they're buzzing when I do this. And I'm just giving thanks to the Father. Thank you, Yeshua. Thank you, Jesus. for this day. Thank you for these friends. Thank you for these beautiful beasts, these horses. Thank you for this beautiful scenery and the chance to ride these horses. Well, it was no time before two horses came over and put their heads against my hands, began nuzzling me, put their heads over my shoulders, and I began holding them. And anyway, long story short, I began feeling them pouring out love, and they don't know me. I didn't do anything for them. I didn't feed them, and I could feel very specifically God loving on me through those beasts. It was Him loving on me through them, and I knew it. In that prayer state, I understood that. It fell upon me. He was loving me. It was very touching, very moving, and it brought me to tears. And I could hear other people sniffling. And I opened my eyes, and everyone else in there was standing watching this happen, this superordinary thing developing with these horses just nuzzling me like big, huge, affectionate puppies. And so they all eventually went off and rode horses, and I stayed. And for about 90 minutes, I ended up brushing them down. I asked for a brush and ended up just brushing them, even all their little itchy spots. I become very intimate with these horses from head to hoof, brushed them down multiple times, got all the excess hair off of them and everything, and just loving on them, giving back to this love that they were giving to me, and just very beautiful, special time. So then I came home, and the next night I was outside in prayer and praying, thank you for these beasts and for this whole trip, Father, and all that they're blessing us with. And my dog Draeger, he's less than a year old. He's a big Rottweiler, Doberman, and Lab mix, very intelligent, pushing against me, and just being very supportive. And I could feel his love, feel his presence there as I was praying. I said, you know what? And Father, thank you for Draeger. What a huge blessing he's been. My gosh, he does so many things that tickle me and make me feel supported and loved. Thank you for that. And what came to me, folks, in that beautiful state of prayer was an understanding. I didn't hear it audibly through my ears. It was an understanding as though it had been said, but I didn't hear anything, but the knowing came. And it was that Yahweh, our Creator, He loves us so much that we choose a beast. We choose a pet. We just perceive them as a pet that's just charming and, playful. But the spirit, the love behind that is Yahweh, He is the Creator. He assigns to this beast, to your pet, His spirit that is a ministering spirit. So if you read in the Bible about angels, they are ministering spirits that bless us and encourage us. That's from the Father. He assigns them to us because He loves us that much. Well, what He's doing with animals is the same. This whole thing came to me. So this is how it is. He assigns ministering spirits through our pets, custom tailored to be the therapy, the counsel, the ministry that we need. He loves each of us so much as His children. He ministers to our soul through these animals. So they do something charming. They lick your face, they laugh or whatever, make you laugh. It's Him blessing you through His creation, through His beasts, through His animals. And so the biggest longest gut laugh I've ever had in my life was our dog Chip. It was with my mom right in the next room, and Chip licked her and accidentally, I guess, slipped the tongue in her mouth when he went to go lick her face unexpected, and she swatted at him, and we just were so tickled. We laughed so long we just couldn't stop laughing. It was contagious. We were just cackling and laughing about that. It was just so silly and funny. What a beautiful, beautiful blessing and gift that was. So Chip eventually got sick and died. I buried him in the backyard, and little puppy G, that was his little brother, was a rescue dog. So we'd gone to a place and a breeder's, and there was a spare dog, scraggly, dirty, thin. and the other shorter, fatter, cuter ones that they were selling. And I told the children, I said, why don't we give a chance to the scraggly one that nobody wants? Give him a loving home. And they eventually said, yeah, Papa, that's a beautiful thought. Let's do that. So we brought him home. And for all of his days, probably 12, 14 years, he was the most thankful dog. It's like he always knew that we gave him a chance at a loving home. And he's just always super loving and affectionate and thankful in that way. It was uncanny, very beautiful. Anyway, he got attacked about 8 months ago by a coyote. And long story short, the damage was bad enough to where we had to put him down. And I buried him in the backyard. Very painful loss. But before he had passed away, about the last 18 months of his life, we had another little one, Puppy Scout, even smaller than him. And Puppy Scout was just a little cute lover and a fantastic little puppy. And so put Puppy G down, little Puppy Scout all by himself. So I went and got another bigger dog, Dreger, and to protect him. Well, Dreger was only here for a couple of months, but they had become intimate. Little Puppy Scout and big old Dreger, best of friends, inseparable. Well, the coyotes came and little Puppy Scout ran out over the berm and got in trouble, and the coyotes overwhelmed him and they ripped him apart right in front of big Puppy Dreger. He's huge already, but he didn't comprehend that level of violence. Very traumatizing, and so we ran out to try to rescue him, but it was too late, and they ran off with all the parts of little Puppy Scout. Horrible, horrible situation. And so I built a fence around the yard, like a waist-high fence, to keep Dreger, and then I brought in another dog, Nala, a bulldog and lab mix. She's not as big as Dreger, but she's more able to hold her own against the coyotes than our little dogs had been. So anyway, I was out in the garage, and Tressa came to me crying with holding something, and it was a little skull with an upper spine. And she was teary-eyed, and she said, Dreger just brought home Scout's remains. And this had been after 6 months. So little Puppy Scout was taken, ripped apart 6 months ago. And Dreger had broken out of the fence again, and Tressa was upset with him. Oh, you shouldn't get out there. It's dangerous. Get back in here. What are you doing? What's that dirty thing you found in your mouth? Get over here. And he's looking around, and finally he made a run and jumped over the fence with this in his mouth, and very reverently, very, very carefully gave this to her. And she looked at it, and she realized it was the remains of little Puppy Scout, and she just was stricken by it and began crying. She's like, oh my God, how did you find this, and how did you know? What a good thing have you done? And so she brought it to me, and I'm like, I think you're right, baby. This looks like Scout's remains, and the timing and the way that this appears looks about right forensically. So I praised Dreger and loved him, and just told him what a good thing he had done. And I went out and buried little Puppy Scout's remains right next to Puppy G and Chip. And then later, he wanted to go for a walk, so I let him out the back, and we walked out in the wash where he had been breaking out and going and exploring for the last 6 months. And we're like, we couldn't understand why he was keep breaking out and going away. We thought he was just exploring. Well, no, he'd been going down the wash to a specific place and looking for his little brother's remains. And I know that because I told Dreger, I said, show me where you found Puppy Scout. Show me where you found him, boy. Find Puppy Scout. And he was doing a zigzag pattern up and down the wash, and I was walking down the middle, and he got to a place about half a mile away where he's really sniffing around a lot more, and then he came up from behind a bush to me with the lower spine and the hip bones. And same carcass. I knew it was the remains of the rest of Puppy Scout. And I thanked him profusely and petted him. And it was a very emotional moment because, again, he was so careful and gentle with it. Not like he is with anything else. He's a rough dog, and he's but he was very reverent and brought it. And I was giving thanks to the Father. Thank you for this. And good boy, you did so good. This is just an amazing thing that you've done. Bless you, buddy. And then he broke off and he went further up the mountain, up the hillside and around the corner. And it's, the big desert. Could have gone anywhere. And he messed around in about another 150 yards away from where the lower spine and hip bone had been found. And he found the two rear legs still attached with the foot intact, complete with the fur on it. And he brought that to me in the same way. And at that point, I was just a mess. It was so beautiful, so specific, so intelligent. I'm like, would you have understood how to do this? You're not even a year old. And I could feel the Father's love. Like, here's the remains of your lost one. So that Tressa can be put at ease and at peace because she's tormented that Puppy Scout's remains have never been found and she didn't have him to bury on our property. She needs closure. And so I took those remains and we went home before it got dark. And I buried those with the other remains. And Drigger, again, sat there and watched me do it. And I think I failed to say whenever he first brought the head, the skull, and the spine, I went out back to the place where Puppy Scout had been taken and ripped apart, where Drager was panicking and seeing the level of violence that he couldn't yet comprehend as a puppy. But he remembered because he sniffed around there a lot for the following weeks. So I sat right there, holding that little skull and spine and petting it and thanking Drager as he sat next to me, scanning for coyotes. So he understood that it was a grieving and recovery process. And so that's all been done. So look, folks, I just wanted to share that. My friends that are in equine therapy urged me to share that knowledge straight from Yeshua, straight from Yahweh, that he loves you enough, even if you don't know it's him, to love on you through an animal, because they're all his creation. The love that they have is his love. The heart that they have is his heart. He loves on us through them. He loves us enough to want that love poured into us, that ministry poured into us, that counsel, that therapy, because he knows what we need. He knows our pain. He knows our tears. He grieves with us. So even if we don't know it's him, he still wants us to have that through his creation, through his animals, the love, the blessing for his children. So know now that it is him who loves you through these animals. If you don't acknowledge him, if you don't love him back, he still loves you and wants you to know that you're loved and that he sent them for your blessing and for your healing, for your joy, for your laughter. He loves you that much. So just consider the enormity of a creator who would do this. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if you know somebody who doesn't quite comprehend it that way or understand yet, please share this with them that they may be blessed too. I hope this touches you. I hope you understand it now the way that I've grown to understand it in prayer straight from the Father. That's what's happening with the animals. That's why the dogs and the horses are so particularly special. I'm sure he does it through other animals too, just in a little bit different way. But what a beautiful knowledge and sacred understanding of divine love from our Creator. I hope it blesses you. Hope you share it with others who it will too. God bless you. We'll see ya.